Now let's call it to order. Are you all set, Jenny?
This looks like it's gonna die, so I'm gonna take handwritten notes and I'll get it to you guys tonight.
That's it.
What time did you say? 5:46?
I do, I'm trying to find your,
You may not have got those time.
no, it was, cause I just, no, that's the 19th.
All set, Jenny?
Yes.
All right, let's start with the pledge. Yes.
That's right, we should.
Okay. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Did everybody see the agenda?
No.
Yes.
All right, so it's somewhere in there, in the Zoom
Yeah.
cloud.
Give us go.
So I think the first thing
Move to.
we had was the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes from, what, the 5th of May as submitted?
Second,
Discussion?
My only thing on the minutes is we should include who's present, who's calling in, or, who's absent. So
You have
there's a
those
record of that.
You got me jumping around here, Nate.
Don't worry about, I got the agenda memorized.
You've got the agenda
Yeah.
memorized.
And Ryan's got it over there, I think, so.
Okay, for
So,
May 5th, they are here at the top.
yeah, in attendance was there. What else were you thinking, Karen?
Well, I saw, there was some, maybe it's the sub.
It was our subcommittee and I
Okay.
did edit those.
Okay, cool.
Can't
Yeah,
remember.
as long as that's,
Yeah, the subcommittee
Yeah.
meeting on the 19th didn't have
right.
listed stuff, but the minutes on the 5th did.
And Karen let me know on, well, we can talk about it at ours, but
Yeah.
okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then you have the agenda. What do I have next?
Yes,
Kevin's?
review Kevin's suggestions regarding budgets.
All right.
yeah, it's not really suggestions, it is, so I met with Lori Schmidt on last Thursday. And what we're working on is how does Walpole leaving or Langdon leaving or both leaving affect the remaining towns, that budget? And so we have a bunch of assumptions, we just need approval with, I sent everyone this email, I don't know if you may have gotten it. Before we proceed with that, because we don't want to do a bunch of work and then people go, no, that's not what we want, and we have to go back and redo it, so we're trying to get that stuff done beforehand.
So do you want to try and hash all that out right now, or?
I would like to, yes, because we want to get this done sooner than later. It's one of the appendices of the withdrawal study is this report. And I think the sooner we have it, the more we can talk about it and go back and make any adjustments we need to make and not wait to the last minute. Some of them are pretty straightforward, some of them might take a little discussion.
Did everybody get that?
Can I ask a clarifying question? So you met with Lori and you're looking at getting as good a handle as is possible for what the actual implications are from the towns leaving respectively. And now we're looking at the discussion being defining what we would need to capture to give a good number. Is that fair?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, because there's a bunch of assumptions we have to consider. It's really just an estimate of what would happen. So there's a bunch of assumptions we have to make.
Yeah.
And just want to make buy-in on those assumptions. It's all I'm trying to get.
There's the agenda.
I found it when I went back to look for his attachment.
Did you find
Um,
stuff? I read through it, but.
Oh, yeah, needs.
Look, I left it on the front. Did everybody look at that, what Kevin sent?
I was
Yeah,
able
chance
to,
You're talking about you have 10 points here.
Yeah, there's 11 now,
Oh,
but,
that's 11.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, this one.
yeah. I first sent it to them, I was 10, I added one, making 11. Should we go through point by point, or what do you want to do?
I think if you want to go through it.
Okay.
Yeah, start at the top.
So the first one is that the document we're gonna produce is the same summary that comes in the annual report, which would be just this page from the annual report. If you can't see it way down there, but it's the one that has the appropriations and and also be the tax statement at the tax implication would go like this. How much increases or decreases for each withdrawal. So that's our first assumption. Is everyone okay with, that's what Charlestown did in their report?
Pages.
I said, I'm sorry, I was answering my brother's question.
It's, I don't know. 25, 26, and 28. It's what, well, it was in the report. It's what was in the report for the Charlestown withdrawal study, so I imagine it's gonna be, it is okay to do that. And that, the tax impact statement will also show the increases or decreases of millage rates. Basically, which what we're trying to get to is the millage rate. We decided not to try and budget numbers, change the budget and try to project it 2 years ahead of time, because that's just gonna be impossible. There's just too many moving parts. And when we talked about it, we said, well, if we just take this budget, the 2025-2026 budget, and use those numbers, if the budget increased anyway, what we're looking for is that increase or decrease in the millage rate, which is probably gonna be very similar whether we do it now or we do it in 2027. Because the proportion is just gonna move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that could possibly change that would be like a huge influx of new residents in one of the towns or something, but
Right.
yeah, so I don't see that changing over the course of 2 years. But I've only got 9 years' experience living around here,
Right.
so.
I think the biggest things are that we have the new CBA that go into effect at that time, and there would also be an insurance rate. So the other big thing, we have no idea what insurance rates are gonna do. And we can't project that anyway. So let's just use this year's numbers and say that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. At least in my opinion, having gone through this before.
I think as long as we define it in the, we say, with these assumptions that we're using, the 25-26,
Right.
and we are aware that healthcare costs are a major variable that can't be accounted for. Past that, I don't know what else we could do.
Right. And I'm
Mike-
planning on putting these assumptions in
Yeah.
the report, so it's very straightforward what we did, what we assumed.
My question is, why wouldn't we use 24-25? Because the rest of the numbers we're putting in the report are from this past year versus next year? Just so all numbers are coming from the same year.
What numbers were using 2024, 2025?
A lot of our requests had to do with 24-25 budget and student numbers, and just seems to me a tidier to just make it this year,
Okay.
if we're gonna choose a year.
I don't have an opinion either way. No. We did save money. We are saving money coming up with insurance is much lower coming in the next budget cycle, but other than that, so.
I'm just looking, I'm not looking to work the numbers in a certain direction. I'm just looking to keep the simplicity of reporting, and if we start jumping years, I think my thought is that's less linear for the people reading it.
Are we okay with that using 2024, 2025? Current fiscal year, which ends in a month, less than a month.
Then would we be adding a percentage to that, an extra year's worth? So is it like 9% increase versus like 6 or something?
No,
No.
because we're not planning on adding an increase. We're not planning on changing in those numbers, just saying that we're just moving, that thing's gonna move forward anyway, so.
And if the data that we're getting is from those years, then that's what we have to work with, so I seems like it makes sense that we be consistent.
I'm okay either way, it doesn't make any. Should we take a vote?
This is your,
Okay, so,
Kevin, hold on one sec. So do you want, that was one question I had. Do you want like a formal motion on each of these bullet points? Is that what you're looking for, or is it just kind of general?
I think that would be nice. I don't think all of them need one, like the first one, I only need one. Would you all prefer to have a motion for each one, so it's in the record as being voted on?
Makes sense.
Okay, so let's start back with number
Yeah.
one. So I make a motion that, this document will be, with the outcome of this, estimate will be the appropriation summary as printed in the annual report, as well as the tax impact summary.
I second that.
Discussion? All those in favor? That was pretty easy. Aye.
Okay. All right,
No,
So-
Number two.
number two, I'll make it be 2024, 2025. So, I make a motion that we use the 2024, 2025 budget numbers to do this estimate.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Okay. Let's make a motion, we can discuss after a motion, that's how it should work anyway, so for the third motion, that for the SAU costs. This is for the towns that leave, we'll be using the 50-50 apportionment formula. And for Walpole, that's 39.43%, and for Langdon, that's 5.19%.
And that's the current one, right? Actually, hold on, same second. Anybody?
Oh, yeah, I'll second, sorry.
All right, that's the current number?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's taking the current, net assessed value, taking the current ADM, and then doing the 50-50 formula. Again, that is just for method one, and just for Walpole, and just for Langdon. Everyone else would be the proportional amounts would come out.
What was Walpole's amount?
39.43%. And for Langdon, it's 5.19%. If you'd like, I can share that calculation with you all. Thought I did earlier, but I'm glad to share that.
any other discussion? All those in favor?
Okay. I have additional information here for this next one. The apportionments for the methods for the remaining towns will be calculated to keep them proportional to their current levels.
Is that your motion?
That's a motion, sorry.
Yeah.
I moved that.
Anybody want to second that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I'm designated.
Joe, can you
second
just
person.
do it?
Yeah, right.
No,
Commit to it.
All right,
Commit to it.
discussion. Kevin has information.
Ask. That was how? So what does that mean?
Mhm.
So you can, unless you all want to see one.
There's a couple.
There's an extra one there too, if you want.
Thanks.
So what I did was I took the current apportionment, and this is the 2024, 2025 apportionment. Sorry, 2025, 2026 apportionment, so that would change. The calculation will be different, but the process will be the same. So these numbers aren't part of the motion. So that first top is the current apportionment values for method 1 through 6 for all 5 towns and the high school. The second part down shows what would happen if Langdon left. So you can see in method 1, Langdon is at 5.19% for method 1. And the rest of them are of the method towns are reapportioned to match that. So actually each one goes down because 5.19 is currently more than what Langdon pays. Langdon would not be participating in methods 2 through 6. So then the remaining values are reapportioned, so they all still up to 100%. Does that make sense? Just the words, the numbers won't make any sense, but the words make sense. Okay. You can see what happens if Walpole withdraws. Again, because that method 1, the 39.43% for Walpole makes everyone else's method 1 go way down. But it affects the other towns' methods 2 through 5 because 2 through 6 because Walpole paid a significant portion of those. And then the last one is if both towns withdraw and how those calculations worked out.
Can I ask a question unrelated to the process? When you when we're talking about the increase on 2 through 5, for example, like if Walpole pulls out. Is there some way for us to look at the aggregate budget? You know, on whatever year we land on. And for us to understand, and when I say us, I mean me, to understand what the percentage of these method values are within the budget. Does that make sense?
So like, what is the percentage increase in dollars?
Yeah, like what's the
Yeah.
actual, like 38.38%? Okay, I understand those numbers, but what is
Yeah,
that of
so
the budget?
You will get the actual numbers when they show up on the actual this is just the apportionment part.
Okay,
The
perfect.
actual dollar values will then show up on each town, just like in the
Awesome.
annual
Okay,
report.
thank you.
Thank you for the question.
That's the spiel, all right.
I think so.
Any other discussion on that one? All those in favor? Aye.
Okay,
Moving along, Evan.
so, I don't think we need a motion for the next one, because that's part of, this is kind of just part of it, but,
I'm gonna get a break.
okay,
Stand down.
well, let's just make it a motion anyway, so we're all consistent, we're down to the same thing. So the amounts budgeted under method 1 will be the shared costs, because those are mostly the SAU costs. Methods 2 through 6 will become direct expenses, which means the withdrawing towns will be allocated 0% for methods 2 through 6. I move that.
All right. Hey,
You're still important.
Discussion? Do you have anything to add, Joe? You can talk, you can still talk.
I can still talk. Oh, no, I think this is fine.
All right,
I
next one,
understand.
All those in favor?
sorry.
Yep.
The next one might take some discussion, so I'm gonna make a motion the way it is. I move that method 1 expenses make sense to share, because they're comprised of the SAU salaries. There are 2 that are likely. I don't know how to do this.
Well,
I move that we, for the time being, that we include the salary of the special ed director, education director, and the facilities director in the method 1 calculation. I'm not attached to that, I'm just making a motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Discussion.
For the discussion purposes.
Yep.
So for discussion, we could break them out. We could then have probably have a method 1 completely shared and a method 1 not shared.
So is your,
So there'd be different proportion amounts, because we'd have to do
Yeah,
we do the reapportionment for the 0 for Walpole, and have to reapportion out method 1.
Because I mean, you're gonna, Walpole and Langley get no benefit out of having a facilities
Right.
director that's works for Fall Mountain. and
Right.
for,
well, special ed?
Special ed.
Special ed
person that
director.
Works for a director that works for Fall Mountain.
They could choose to use the special ed director, or they could choose to use their own LEA.
But that would be a separate budget expense for Walpole to be
Yes.
doing, whether it's to Fall Mountain or not. So
Right.
I think it should be taken out.
Okay, I make motions, I just want to get it out there.
Well,
I know I'm
No,
not-
no, no, I'm just thinking it through
Yeah.
as I'm saying it. It's the first time that I'm.
So we would
discuss
have,
this.
like I say, we would have to have a method 1 shared and a method 1 not shared. Because those proportion amounts would be different. So that's just,
But why would you have it shared? If it's Walpole
well,
withdrawing
no, we still have the shared costs like we have the
for the rest of the town.
Yes,
no,
superintendent.
well, no, you still have superintendent, you still have the fiscal
Mhm.
services, you have all those other
Yeah,
SAUs.
you gotta
Understood.
remember,
These are just 2 of
it's
them.
not withdrawing from the SAU,
Right,
only withdrawing from the district.
Yeah.
So the SAU, you, Walpole and Langdon would still have to share in those costs, but I totally understand why you wouldn't want the facilities director and the special ed person if you've got your own.
But your motion is to include it for now.
I'm just making a motion to make a motion, we can amend the motion.
Yeah,
if we-
I hear you. You just
Yeah.
want to get the discussion started.
right,
Yeah, fair enough.
I think we should do it where we break it out, because then we'll have, because that's gonna be the
It's a
question.
real number.
Yeah, then, so I think we should do that way.
Yeah, good question. So one thing I'm hearing here is that you're talking about the methods that we have currently for SAU costs. But as you discussed in a previous motion, when you have a multi-district SAU, those costs are apportioned 50-50. You don't have to worry about any of this. Those are all appropriated by the 50-50 method.
Bottom line.
Bottom.
That's a good.
Well-
Well, that answers it.
The method, what we call method one goes away. It's just 50-50 apportionment. And, yeah, there's no methods at all in that.
So how would that affect if it was a three, well, you'll be joining this, okay.
So it's either a single district SAU, which is what we have now, and you can do it any way you want. But you still can if you're multi-district, but the RSA says you'll do a 50-50 unless you come up with another way. So, because I thought you had already talked about writing your report with the 50-50 method, which is 50, the ADM 50 equalized values, then this seems like an exercise you weren't intending to do.
The 50-50 was only for Walpole and Langdon, not for the other towns remaining, because they were still the end of their, until they just let me hear me through. Until they undo the articles of agreement, how does this supersede the articles of agreement? Because they're still part of the cooperative.
Actually, number 3 says 50-50 for the withdrawing towns. And then 39.43 is what you said.
If you become each of,
So it's addressed in two
yeah, I'm
different
not exactly
ways.
sure how that would work, if your cooperative takes those 50-50. But for this exercise, I don't know as though that you would figure out what each individual of the remaining towns would have, because you would only look at what that 50-50 is for Walpole and Langdon here, and the others would just be bundled as a 50-50, and we would have to figure that out.
Sure.
So the next time.
Yeah, I think
Well,
the
just-
question is whether that statute would trump the articles of agreement. I don't think that it would, but I mean, that's not my
Because,
opinion, Kate,
no, but
but.
oh no, I'm taking
What I'm
notes.
trying to say is, for your intents and purposes, if you're trying to figure out what the remaining would be, we don't have to tell the remaining district, the remaining 2, 3, 4 towns, what their percentages are. That could go through the other, you can only say like, I guess if you put Charlestown, Ackworth and Alstead together and figure out their equalized value and their ADM. They would figure it out 50-50. I'm not exactly sure, I'd have to go through legal and whatnot, but it would be 5 or 6 different percentages.
I still think it would, I think it would be because we still have because the articles of agreement are still in effect. For those remaining towns in this,
I would think it would have to be
Yeah, I would think you'd be,
for the remaining.
the cooperative, the towns in the cooperative are still subject to the articles of agreement. And so if it's apportioned something different than the 50-50, which the articles of agreement say it is, then I think they get that.
it could be a,
We get the,
Good question, I
Langdon
guess.
gets the 50-50 if Langdon leaves, and so does Walpole, and then you have to figure out what the difference is. And that's one thing that's kind of we've been talking a lot in the Langdon subcommittee is how far down the rabbit hole do we have to go? As far, what happens to Charlestown if Langdon leaves? Charlestown in their withdrawal study had, they had some information in there, but some was vague, some was not vague, but, I think people are gonna wanna know. I think it's worth, as we dig into all these numbers, it's worth figuring out.
I'll put a request in for legal to ask that question.
So do we want to vote on 6 with that stipulation that
I still
legal will be
think we can-
consulted or table it?
I still think we can do 6 to determine whether we're gonna keep. And I think I'm hearing somebody wants to make a motion to amend my motion to remove the special ed director and facilities director from method 1. From the shared cost of method 1.
So I will make a motion to amend the 6th bullet point by removing the special ed director and facilities director. It's been a long day, Kevin. What's the rest of my amendment? I'm not kidding.
Yeah, just, there'll be separate.
Remove those terms.
Okay, to remove those terms.
Discussion on the amendment.
I'm not sure. I think you need a second. Do you need a second from Walpole or do you need a second?
Anybody?
No, I think Karen just did.
Yeah.
Second, okay.
So I think discussions on the amendment,
Yeah, I think we should table it until we hear from legal.
I think this is gonna be a proper question no matter what we do.
Yeah, no, I think he's right, Shelley, because regardless of how we're not really debating how we apportion things. We're debating whether we keep those two positions in whatever formula we use. So I think it is something we should decide now.
Yeah, legal's gonna let it decide what the formula's gonna look like,
Right.
but Walpole and Lincoln still don't wanna pay those salaries, no matter how much, whatever the percentage ends up being.
Right, and really it's just, do we include that in whatever calculation or do we not? And so right now the amendment is to not, so.
Right, I just made this suggestion so we can do a vote.
So we gotta have a vote on the amendment. To amend the motion. Doesn't that have to pass?
Aren't you glad you took this over tonight?
Yeah. I'm tired.
Correct, you're right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion's amended. So now we gotta vote on the amended motion. But I think everybody, right? So any discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That might have been
When we
superfluous.
move forward, anytime we've ever done votes in any meeting that I've ever been, there's always been an opposed, so you're on the record of opposing. I think Ms. Houghton asked.
Did you?
Last collective meeting that be done. I'm gonna request that be done moving forward.
So
Really?
I'm gonna put in a minute going forward, if this is where we arrive, that
Yeah,
there's,
because according
Yeah.
to the minutes,
Yeah.
everybody is agreeing,
Okay.
and I'm
Perfect.
not necessarily sure that's.
going forward, parties in opposition would be noted to the specific.
Yep, all in favor, all opposed. We can do that.
Yeah, that makes perfect
Did
sense.
you oppose that last one, Nancy? Is that what happened?
No, I did this one other time,
Yeah.
Previously.
and
Yeah,
you
previous.
didn't ask, so that's why I brought it up.
Yep. So. You're not in opposition to that last one, though?
Yes, I am.
You are? Okay, so let's do that. So. Let's put Nancy, anybody else opposed to that last motion?
I am.
Okay,
Okay, so hold on, I'm gonna make a separate page with 11 points. So this was, let's go back to 5. Was Ms. Houghton opposed to 5?
I
Or
can't
just
go
show-
back because now you're asking. At least asking me for what the discussions were and I can't remember, so. I would say just moving forward.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Would you guys like that noted on this? I just don't wanna be remiss in doing.
yeah, no, I think we should note that
Okay.
Shelley and Nancy voted no on the last one.
So that was number 6.
Moving on.
I don't think we need a motion on number 7. It's just really information that Walpole needs to know that they're gonna have bus transportation. It's gonna be, that part's gonna come out. Number 8 is probably needs a motion. Alston, Ackworth, and Lane, the motion is, I move that, instead of 80 Alsted, to 80% Alsted, 10% Ackworth, 10% Langdon, that for the estimate when Langdon removes, the expenses will be allocated at 90% for Alsted and 10% for Ackworth.
So,
That's number 8. We're not doing number 7. It's just not, it's just information.
Second that?
Discussion?
So Lori and I talked about this and thought that I was originally proposing that we make it proportional again, probably 85-15. And Lori was like, well, Ackworth's not really getting any additional services by Langdon leaving. So
Good
there
point.
is currently no agreement between, official agreement between Ackworth, Alston, and Langdon to divvy up those shared expenses. They're the principal, nurse, guidance, special ed, food, I don't know, there's a bunch of others, there's a bunch of them shared.
I feel like they should be fighting for like the stuff with the extra 10%.
Well, in some ways, it's good though, because it's a good conservative number for Elston.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean it's gonna shake out that way.
Yeah.
Elston and Ackworth decide, but. Might not be bad to estimate high. Any other
It's about
discussion?
$200,000. You know, it's about what it buys out today, so little.
All those in favor?
Yeah, or maybe,
Nope.
maybe you, yeah, you're just removing Langdon you know, like you does withdrawal, talking about 10%. Maybe divide the 10% between two remaining towns.
Well, I think that's what that's what you talked about with Lori, right? That's how you got the
Yeah.
85.
Lord is like, no, Ackworth's not really getting any additional. Like, I don't know. I was. So I brought it to you.
Numbers make sense that way, right? I mean, Akron has less students than Elston,
Oh, yeah,
so I mean, that does
but it's not,
sort of make sense.
it's not a 9-to-1 ratio.
No, yeah.
It's basically two towns absorbing the cost from
Yeah,
Langdon, so that's, to me, it makes sense that you should split that up. And not
That's-
just put it all in one town.
that's the way I look at it, but, I'm open to debate and, yeah, it probably won't end up being the end result anyway, but just like it in the minutes that the Elstead representative did make a bid to make this 85.
Make a motion,
it-
make it a motion.
But it's, just lost my train of thought. It's not to actually use it, just for the calculation.
Yeah,
That's why I think maybe
No,
Alfred would
you
want it higher
okay,
to have that conservative number. That's up to you. So do you want to change it, Joe?
yeah. But
Do you care?
I'll fight, save my battle for another day.
Do you want to change it, Karen?
I mean, I stand by it, but how I look at it is two towns have to absorb the costs
Yeah.
for those shared expenses, so to me, why wrong? But
Sure.
why are you saying why else did you want to absorb more?
Just for the purposes of the calculations. It's a conservative number to be higher. If it actually happens. And then Elston and Ackworth decide to do it differently, or the district decides that, however that shakes out. But, that's up to you. You can amend Kevin's motion, go on, go for it.
Okay, so I amend Kevin's motion and good, I like the idea of the 85-15. Should amend.
Second?
I'll second that. Or no, I can't, yeah, I don't know.
Why not?
Yes, you
Okay,
can.
I'll second it.
You're a member.
That's right. Your own person, Joe. Discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of amending Kevin's motion?
I
Aye.
Opposed.
Oh, hold on, I'm not there yet.
I oppose.
Hold- All those opposed? Nancy?
We're opposing the amendment. correct?
Yes. To take it from 90-10 to 85-15.
I don't think Jim Stone's voting yet.
I think Nancy said aye.
She did.
Yeah.
Are you all set, Shelley?
Yeah,
Would,
because we're gonna take a vote on the amended one.
right, did you say aye?
Yeah.
Oh, so we got one opposed. Right,
Were we voting, we weren't voting on the amended one?
now we're voting to
Voting.
amend the motion.
To amend it,
Gotcha.
now we're gonna vote on the amended one.
So so that's amended. Any discussion on the amended motion?
Still gotta vote.
Seeing none.
Yeah, so all those in favor of Kevin's amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Uh,
All right, Shelley and Ryan opposed.
So this is for number 8.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, number 9 is just informational. All right. For method 6. Method 6 includes, I'm gonna get information first, not trying, let me not trying to craft up a motion in the meantime. Method 6 includes out-of-district placements, which will be eventually absorbed by the actual towns that have the action, that have them. But they're hard to pull out because of FERPA. We're not allowed to really know that information. So my motion is that for method 6, we keep the out-of-district placements in there just for this calculation.
Yeah, I second that because for those reasons, you can't know these numbers anyway, so, but we're not supposed to know.
Discussion?
Your number 9 is,
Number 9.
This information.
oh, we
We're
skipped
not,
that.
we're not 10.
I think as long as when we publish the number, that your point is made, that this is based off of whatever the actual year is, and this is based off of yearly need. And that can change wildly.
Right.
One district at a placement could be a couple $100,000, depending on the need.
So you're saying, I'm just making sure I'm understanding, for number 10, you're saying that for out of district placements, it will be in the Fall Mountain District budget reflected there, but not in the Langdon or the Walpole. Is that what you're saying?
Walpole, I
Why
think
keep them all
there,
together?
so they can figure them out. We,
I understand your point. I
Right.
just want to make sure that I'm understanding where those costs are going to show up.
yeah, they're
when
gonna
we-
show up, if Walpole withdraws in that version, they're gonna, those out of district placements are gonna show up for other 4 towns. If
Oh,
both-
even if they're Walpole's now.
Right. if
Right.
The
Walpole's
numbers
now, they're gonna
shift.
show up, there's gonna
Yeah.
shift, there's gonna be a shift around.
Right.
It's gonna
That makes sense.
wind up overstating method 6, but probably, if, for the Walpole lead portion, we'll wind up overstating, but for the rest of the towns,
And we
it'll
can
wind up
explain.
overstating.
Yep.
their-
We really won't. No, I mean, we're not gonna have accurate data for this,
I don't know what you can get.
right?
I'm not a business office person, I don't know all the laws, so I can't tell you for sure, but. In the,
Well, the district knows exactly what those numbers are because
Right.
that's how they pay for it. So somebody has those.
They're
very
not
hard to
gonna
tell.
release them.
They're not gonna release
They
them.
cannot release them by law.
And they can't do it by town?
Well,
No, I don't believe so. Special ed costs, we haven't been able to ever. As of right now, we've never been able to narrow that down via town, correct?
When I went through it with Charlestown, we could get Charlestown's bulk number because there was enough students, but when you have such tiny towns and there's only one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes more identifiable under FERPA when there's less
Yeah.
to look from. I think for the purposes of this, Kevin's point is well taken, that this is a placeholder in concept. It's not meant to convey actual,
budgets, right,
right. But should either one or both of those towns withdraw, you will find out, Scott, or at least your business administrator will.
Yeah.
I think what we could say is that when we publish this and we put the assumptions in, that this number could be lower. Based on where those actual
Yeah. and we-
Out of
We're
district
just going to
placements
explain it.
are, yeah.
Yeah, if you just have a little explanation in there, I don't see the Department of Education giving us a hard time about that.
More important about other town people.
Or other, yeah, even folks in town, you just can't have that.
Explaining it, yeah.
Any other discussion on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nancy, you didn't say anything. You can abstain?
And when this,
That's an aye, okay. And I'm gonna do it, any abstentions? Okay.
All right, number
Come
11,
on.
again, I am not attached to either way, I'm gonna make a motion and not attached to it. That, for the purposes of this, we will, assume that all Walpole and Langdon High School students will tuition into the Fall Mountain Regional High School.
I'll second that motion.
So I could, if we wanted to, we could do 2 versions of that. One where all the students tuition in, and one where none of the students tuition.
I think it's best for everyone if that's both there, just so people
Mhm.
know what's coming if this comes to pass.
So both, you think both?
That would be my,
Yeah. I don't
Oh,
think
you're
it's not
saying
hard.
both ways.
I don't think it's a hard calculation, because we just have to, we take the tuition
yeah,
amount, and we
it should
just
just be.
don't take it out, don't add it, and then we have a second version.
Yep.
So I withdraw my motion and redo my motion to say that we will have 2 versions of this, one where all students tuition into the high school, and one where no students from the withdrawing towns tuition into the high school.
I second that.
Discussion on that.
Fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nancy?
There we go.
Just for the
Any
notes, Kevin,
abstentions?
oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just for the notes, you had said, and I could probably go back, but I don't trust my brain right now. What, out of the 11, can you specifically point out which points were just informational?
Number 7
Uh-huh,
and number 9.
felt like there was 3.
I do too.
And
Oh, the busing one for Walpole, figuring out the busing.
so what number or what, yeah, what
That
point was
That
that?
was number 7.
Seven.
Oh, that was number
Okay, so
7.
just 7 and 9.
Just 7.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We'll get to work on that.
Thank you for all of your efforts.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
And I'm sure there'll be more discussion
I think
as you see it, but just a starting point that we have some agreement.
Do you have anything else on that, Kevin?
Nope, that's
good.
That's my 11 points.
Right.
I just want to make it clear, though, I feel that it should be for the 24-25 budget, because all other numbers we're using are
We
from
put in a
that.
number 2. We did
Okay,
that number. I wrote
For
it
all
down.
of these.
I wrote it
yes.
down.
All right, just making sure it was heard for all of them.
Kevin, are you able at some point to send me the exact wording of the amended motion so I can include both your
I
initial?
don't remember them.
I just want to double check myself.
Do
Where's-
the Misty thing. I mean,
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be exact.
No, it doesn't.
We are recording this, so maybe there's a
That's not-
recording of it.
You don't need to include all of the details.
Okay.
Discussion,
Motions and who made those motions and seconded them to do them.
but all of the details and just the final conclusion she needs to.
Or if you amended it though. Yes, you would need the amended wording.
So the whole rewritten.
Mhm.
Yes.
Brendan, are you able to
Think
get
that
this
would
to
be-
an old lady? Me?
But I don't think anyone ever said the whole rewritten when
Right.
any of the motions were made.
I can amend, I can change my document to
That's
put
what I was-
the,
If that's agreeable to the group, I think
Changes
that's
then?
the best way to do
and
it.
then you can include this document.
Now we have the before and the after,
Thank
and
you.
it's written for Jen.
Sounds good to me.
That'll solve
Thank
that.
Okay, no worries. There are some changes, so it's not a big deal.
So you're all set with that, Kevin?
I'm all set.
Okay, everybody else all set with that? Anything else on that one? All right, what do we have next? Is the Langdon subcommittee next or Walpole? Langdon? So what we thought we'd do is just maybe check in on progress, quickly. So Kevin's been helping us, Langdon subcommittee, some numbers together. We're making good progress, so we're gonna, and correct me if I'm wrong. All right, there we go. Our plan is to get a budget for Langdon staying and Walpole leaving, and then Langdon leaving with Sarah Porter staying open and Sarah Porter closing. Really, that's all just getting compiled. That's not technically part of the feasibility part, but we're gonna put all that together. So we've been working on that quite a bit.
I think I'm actually to a third option, which is to do, what if Langdon offered K through 8? Because it takes about 5 students to equal 1 teacher salary. If you have like more than 5 students in a classroom, it's actually cheaper to house them yourself than it is a tuition somewhere else, based on the tuition rate that the school board came up with. So I'm actually thinking about doing that too.
Cool.
Build a schoolhouse to hold one, that's nothing but that. Little tiny houses.
So does anybody from the other side, the Walpole side, have any questions for our Langdon part or?
Well, I think just knowing where you all are at, because when you and I spoke, Kevin, we talked about trying to keep the 2 groups at a similar pace so that you all aren't finishing up and we're trying to get our feet under us still, and we end up doing something differently, so all the numbers don't jive. And I appreciate the energy you're putting into figuring all of this out and the free help he's
Yeah.
given to us. Thank you for that. No bills accepted.
So I do think, so we have our feasibility studies, you all have a draft, we have our draft, we're still, fiddling with our draft as things come up. I think that's where when you start working on yours, we'll have some more synergy to happen there.
Mhm.
But at that point, we really just have the budgets for leaving, the budgets for people staying. We have two budgets to do because we have two different scenarios. And then just the other appendices is I think is just the school board saying they're willing to negotiate the possibility of having the high school students tuition in. So we really, I don't think, I don't think there's that many moving parts to get to yet.
Mhm.
This is my personal.
We were a step behind as far as working on our numbers. We held off making our subgroups. We have many more people than you guys do in ours, but we held off dividing into those subgroups because we were waiting for the information to come through, but a lot of it has now. So that's on the agenda for tonight, to focus in on who's doing what as far as breaking it up. I think last time we decided that there would be three different, I believe we decided that there were three different groups that we were gonna work through to get our information together. But that's
Your
really as
budget-
far as we've gotten along with you and I looking at that rough draft.
Your budget should be fairly straightforward because you're already paying for almost everything you've got anyway.
Mhm.
You'll take your budget and figure out what other parts you don't already have. It's probably transportation.
We'll be able
Mostly.
to do that.
Is there some
Okay.
accurate figure that captures the amount of kids that require transportation?
That's something that we can request and look through what's been requested so
Right,
far.
as a side note.
You're
No,
required
that's
by
fine.
law to provide it for certain grades, so look at your student numbers and.
Yeah,
So, I think that we're all done. Are you finished with your agenda? So
Yeah.
we will close this meeting so that we can.
Move to adjourn at 6:30.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Opposed? Abstentions.
None.
Okay.